So I'm going to record it too. So we'll be blasting that out to you guys in case you want to go through it again. Probably going to give you a fresh perspective on goal setting, something I've been studying for a long time, probably since middle school when I was an athlete. So going to give you some different stuff to think about. There's going to be some stuff that you're going to, if you want to like do the whole thing, do outside of here. All right, and I'll kind of tell you how to do that. So you see I have at the top, most people have no ideas how to set goals, right? They kind of just think of something. They don't give it too much thought as to why they want to do that, which is super important. And most people set, we'll talk about later, like what you call outcome based goals. Make $1 million, lose 50 pounds, right? And that fails majority of the time, right? 3 steps of creation. We're going to do some theater of the mind at the end. I'm going to teach you how to do the visualization that I do. Everything that you want to create in your life starts with a thought. Every thought that you have is a picture. You cannot think without pictures in your head. It's impossible. Most people are not taught that. So even using that just when you're feeling down, depressed, sad, your brain also can't ignore a question. So you just say, okay, pause. What am I focused on right now? What's capturing my attention? And it really is as simple as, okay, I'm picturing how this thing might go wrong. You put a new image in your head, some positive success, happy memory that you actually had, and you can change yourself just like that. So everything starts with a thought, then the words, right? Written or spoken. And then you have to take action. You have to take action with everything. A lot of people will set goals. Like when The Secret came out years ago, the book The Secret, people, a lot of people took that, okay, if I just imagine what I want to have happen, it'll happen. Now there is some type of attraction that goes on, but you have to take the action, right? That's the whole thing. And that'll tie into making sure that you're clear why you want to do that thing. Because the enthusiasm, the excitement is going to be your fuel. Most people give up shortly after they start. Again, they're not really taught this. So you see some of the stats I have there. 83% of the population, it's probably higher than that, does not have any goals. 14% have a plan in mind, but they're not written down. 3% of the people have goals written down. So already a very small percentage. Right? So I always say success leaves clues. So the people that are succeeding with whatever they do, they're doing this. Of the 14% that have goals written down, right? Or excuse me, the 14% that have goals written down, 10 times more successful than those without goals. 10 times. It's huge. The 3% written goals are 3 times more successful than the 14% that don't have them written down. Or excuse me, that don't have them written down. And the 14% a lot of times will set a goal, they'll write it down once, and that's it. So the 3% are the type that are writing them down every day. Now there's another level to that. If you write them down every day or you carry your goals on you. We used to have goal cards here. We'll probably bring back, and we'd have clients tape it to their phone. So every time you see it, a picture comes to your head. It's a reminder to stay consistent with your actions. Instead of just setting a goal and never revisiting it. End of the year comes, I didn't do anything with that. I've made that mistake a lot of times. The second Friday, which is already passed, in January, is known as National Quitters Day. So it's already come and gone. So that's a good thing. Most people that set New Year's resolutions are done already. We look at the stats. And if we look at, again, success leaves clues, but also if you look at the majority of the population with anything, if you don't know what you're doing, just do the opposite. So think of most people, right? They set New Year's resolution goals, but they fail. So doing this after that, because it's kind of crazy around the holidays, it's a good time to think about it, but let everything settle down. Now, the next part, just to give you different ways, I've really been thinking about this the past like couple months. So first off, if you look at just the year, okay, if you look at the year, now whether you believe this or not, but look at the year, right? We got 12 months. Some have 30 days, some have 31, some have February's got 28, 29 on a leap year. If there were 13 months, each month would have 28 days. There's one extra day left over. based on the stuff I've studied and read. And that day would signify the day that basically Christ rose. Okay? So it's one extra day, but every month would have 28 days. The lunar cycle is 28 days. Woman's menstrual cycle, average, there's variations slightly, 28 days. So everything would be in perfect rhythm if it was 28 days. Now, if you look at the names of the month, right, just to kind of further prove this, because I believe this, and it's not that long ago from what I read, like 400 years ago, where the calendar was switched. If you look at September, Sept, S-E-P-T, most languages, what number does that mean? Sept. 7. September's our 9th month. October, what does oct mean? Octo. 8, it's our 10th month. Nueve, November, is 9, it's our 11th month. Deca, December, is our 12th month, but it should be the 10th month. So the names of the month actually tell you what they used to be. Right now, if you Google this, right, because it's hard to find a lot of stuff, they're going to say, because I've researched it from the other perspective. Well, it used to just go to December, and then the winter months, January, there was no name for them. It was just winter month. And then it would start again, right? So based on what you look at, that 13th month was either called Sol or Unit December. So you take that, do what you want with it. But the more important thing out of that, if you look at nature, right? So based on that calendar, anybody want to guess when the actual New Year used to be? What month? It's the first of a month. Close? April. Okay, you think about what nature's doing then. Look at nature right now. It's not dead, but it's just dormant, right? So the more I've been thinking about it, I'm like, nature tells us, okay, this time of the year, just start building, go easy, start building momentum. But if you just look back at your history, I can guarantee you probably have achieved more in spring, in summer, even if that wasn't your intention, right? Everything's blooming. Your energy comes back, more sunlight. April 1st, what is that also known as? April Fool's Day, right? It's also Devin's birthday. April Fool's Day. It was, so if you look at the term like conspiracy theory or conspiracy theorists, anybody know when that term was kind of developed? You guys know? So it was when JFK was assassinated. Basically, the CIA came out with the term, and you can look this up, a conspiracy theory to shut down any other narrative that people were putting out there. And you think of conspiracy theorists, the guy's crazy, like crazy. You can't listen to him. April Fools is the same day. The reason it's called April Fool's Day, when they switched this, there were people that still were not saying, no, April is the new year. We're not playing, playing this little game. They came up with the term, oh, that's an April Fool. Now, back then, 400 years ago, if you were called a fool, that was like a very high slander. Now people just throw that around. But it was, oh, that's an April Fool. Oh, that guy's an idiot. But just think about it with when you're setting, whether you believe that or not, April, right? That's when we want to build momentum and then take the next step. Right? Because you can't go 100% all year. Nature leaves you clues. Follow nature. Just look at your patterns. I guarantee you that's been your pattern. So, last thing, and then we'll get into just a few other things as far as actually setting goals. The comfort zone. Like, what are some things you guys think of when you think about setting goals? Like, what are some terms that are thrown out there? Like, what will people tell you with your comfort zone? You have to what? Get out of your comfort zone. Think big. For the process, most people aren't saying that, but that's what we're going to go over, right? Most people are telling you think big, massive action, right? Now, all the mind map stuff I study in the brain, massive action usually kills your desire. Think about if you've been to a seminar and then you're all pumped up, you leave, 99% of our room never does anything with the information. So now Monday comes around like, I'm not excited anymore, right? It's massive action. The idea sounds good, but the way your brain works, right, it needs clarity. So point A to point Z, let's say that's your outcome-based goal. We'll talk more about it. There's all these steps in the middle, and the brain doesn't know how to fill that in. So then we get to the process. What can we do every day to move us towards that, right? But massive action. I have in here something my coach has been working with me a long time. We always talk about the concept of thinking small. Think small. When you want to do something, what's the next simplest step where you don't feel this resistance towards it? But it is, but I'm saying the consistency is huge. But for example, this is going back to 2020. One of the guys that did the first Panda Challenge, I would do an individual mind map with everybody. I know the guy a long time. He wanted to become a basketball coach. He was in corporate America. I think he was actually doing like insurance sales. So he said, "Look, I've got 2 kids now. I really want to make the switch, become a high school basketball coach." But he didn't have the clarity of the next step, right? So we talked through that. Well, I said, "All right, look," I said, "I went back to Kane University after I graduated from Delaware to get my health and phys ed certification." I said, "So you can go to Kane." He already had a degree. But the next simplest step we came up was, can you look up the number for the administration office? So he did that and set the meeting. He did that. And all of a sudden, because he's thinking, how do I go from this to being a high school basketball coach? So always think of what's the next simplest step. And when you do that, you also start thinking about making success easy for yourself. It's funny because Devin loves having everything clean. I'll leave stuff out intentionally, like, okay, I got to do that. I got to remember to do that habit. And she cleans it up, and I'll forget, right? Because there's a lot of stuff going on in our heads. So try to make it as easy for yourself as you can to succeed. The comfort zone. If you're an athlete or you watch sports, what is the other team? Let's say it's the Super Bowl, Giants, Jets. If I'm the Giants, what am I trying to do to the Jets in the Super Bowl as far as their comfort zone? What's that? Well, what about the comfort zone? Like if you just frame it in the comfort zone, what do I want? If the Jets are the other team, what do I want? What's that? Get them out of their comfort zone so they don't perform as well. You don't want to be out of your comfort zone. That's the massive action. What's within your comfort zone that you can do the next step? So a lot of clients I work with online, right? A lot of them will start me because they want to lose weight, like a lot of weight to lose. So we're working, okay, what's going to be your minimum standard as far as your exercise? I was working with a new client a couple of weeks ago on this. 10,000 steps a day. I said, no, minimum standard. I said, that's great if you do that. That's aspiration, maybe. So we settled on, I think it was 25 push-ups a day and a 5-minute walk. So you set stuff that's no matter what is going on, I can do that. And then you always stay connected to it. So it's really start thinking small with all of this. So your vision, this part you guys will do on your own where it says time for step 1, your vision. What I do with that is I'll take my journal out and I'll write, set a time limit, like 30 minutes. So for this year, when I wrote it in December, okay, I date it from a year from when I write it. So I'm reflecting back on the year to come. The key on this is you use your imagination. So again, where a lot of people get caught up, they think of a goal. I don't know how I'm going to do that. And then so they kind of limit themselves. Like a child, use your imagination. So I'll usually write like I'm sitting on the patio having a cup of coffee, reflecting on, and I'll go through each area of my life. What trips did we take? What did I do with business? What did I do with, athletics? But write it out. It's a vision. Now, if you go back to that vision and read it periodically throughout the year, you will be shocked at how much of that stuff you achieve. Even if you have no clue, which you probably won't, how you're going to achieve that stuff. So and if you do that, again, you guys already came here. You did the hard part, right? Think about like when we did a survey with members. Majority of them wanted to do goal setting. Okay, where's everybody? Right. So that's what I'm telling you. Like that thing, the vision. If you don't do it, that's fine. But I'm just telling you, if you take the time to do it, do a 30-minute block. Schedule, and when you're done with that, schedule one for next week. Another, because you're gonna have to go back. You're gonna think of some other stuff. Refine it or finish it. And schedule the final one where you type it up, print it up where you can read it. Leave it somewhere you're gonna read it from time to time. Some people read it daily. Some people, it'll be like 2, 3, 4 pages maybe. Write it out. There's no limits. You got to take that governor off, which you think is possible. The Pre-success failure. And this is another huge mistake I learned when I was bodybuilding. First couple contests were in May. And I had this one point in time that I was focused on. But the whole way to that, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. You have self-doubt, right? And that's called a pre-success failure. You just focus on this thing out in the future. The contest came and went, and nobody, I didn't know this stuff at the time. And it happened the first two contests. The next 3, 4 months, I was like super depressed because I had this one thing, and then there was nothing, right? So I was living like for more than half a year, one date in time, and it's gone, right? So the pre-success failure, and that ties into the process. What are we going to do? What's going to be the daily process? We're going to think about that tonight to put you in the right state of mind, to move you towards that. Lead indicators, lag indicators. So that really ties into you have process-based goals or systems. That's the daily stuff or weekly. The outcome-based goals. Those are your lag indicators. So you can set that big goal, but realize that's just it's like a exit on the parkway. That's where the area you want to get to. It's just to move you. You might pass it. You might not quite hit it. You might come right in the area. But that's after the fact. That's telling you the input that you already did, the daily process, right? So when we go through goal setting, think of some outcome-based ones, and then we're going to go through an exercise. What would be the process to start moving towards that, right? And then you're going to be excited every day, right? You're going to be excited that I'm moving towards what I want to achieve. So we're going to take a couple minutes. The categories I gave you, I keep it real simple: health, wealth, relationships. Everything can fit in one of those buckets. Faith, religion would fit into relationships, right? Wealth would be obviously monetary, career, stuff you want to learn, right? And then your health. And then I wrote down some ideas to break it down further. But I'll give you about 5 minutes. You can just use the spot on the next page. Just kind of anything that comes to your mind, write it down. It's not, you don't have to share it with anybody. Just write down whatever comes to your mind. We'll go 5 minutes. Start. So a lot of this stuff, guys, is good to do with speed. So you don't overthink it, right? If you go back and revisit it. Obviously, something that will tie into this. I'll probably do a workshop, maybe like a month or two on the planner that I created, because your daily battle plan and keeping it simple, like that'll, if you don't, if you haven't done that before, or you plan your day the night before, that'll transform your life. And some of the stuff out there is just so complex. But something I wrote down. You guys see the Rip Dad's book on the counter over there? I just got the hard copies in, right? So that was something I've been working on the past year. Something I've been wanting to do for years. So I had a plan, and then early October, I put out to my email list, hey, it's going to be done by Halloween. We were going on a cruise the next day. Actually, we had to fly down on Halloween to Miami. So that week comes, working on. The night before we left, I was up to like 3 o'clock in the morning finishing it. So something that applies to what you're doing. There's nothing that creates urgency like intense time pressure. So I'm a big believer when you're doing your work. Let's say you have a goal, right? And you only at the end I kind of say you just put 10 or 15 minutes towards it each day. Sometimes that's enough. But you set the clock. Right now it's a game in your mind. In gamification, Jerry Seinfeld, when he was finally making it with the sitcom, they interviewed him. It's going back a long time, probably 30 something years now. And in the interview, they said, all these comics out there are struggling. They can't even get booked at local comedy clubs. Like, what was the secret? And he had basically, he bought 2 years worth of wall calendar. You can see 2 years. He said, I set up a daily process. I wanted to write 2 hours at least each day of material, each day. And if I did that, I gave myself a red X. He goes, as I got going, because you look at the calendars, I didn't miss one single day. He went 2 straight years. And there's the concept too with that. I always believe, and it was taught to me a long time ago, all overnight successes take like 12 years at least. People see the end result, right? But how do you gamify stuff and make it fun for you? Reward yourself. Like if I hit certain business goals each month, I buy like toys from the 80s that I had as a kid. I collect them. It's nothing big, but it's like a little reward, right? A little reward, which I get excited about it. So think of gamification. So the part below, we're not going to do right now, but it says goal one. It's just an example you can use. Let's say you had a goal, a strength goal. You want to bench press 200 pounds. So you kind of write down, okay, you want to do that by when? That would be the last box. If there's a certain date, remember time pressure. And where do you want to be by step two to make sure you're on track? Because again, a lot of people set goals. End of the year comes, I didn't do anything towards this. But if you knew that, hey, 2 months, you want to be at X. 4 months, you want to be here. So that's a very useful exercise too, and you can do it for each goal. Now flip it over. Now this is a big thing, the brain dump. We're going to do one more thing, and then I'll go through the list of 7.5 actions or principles, and then we'll go through some to finish some theater of the mind visualization. But like a week, it was about 2 weeks ago now. This weekend, Devin took Braxton to a birthday party. Emma had a play date. So it was me and Colty. But a million things to do. It was the day after Ainsley's first birthday party. And but Ainsley went down for a nap. So it was me and Colty. So all right, what should I do? I got a couple of hours. Ainsley maybe nap for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. But someone would say, okay, just slow down. So I said, I got to read. I've been reading the Bible a lot. Read the Bible. Then I had this book that me and my brothers are reading, like in a book club. And it was simple stuff I already knew. But the guy was talking about if you don't do the stuff you want to do right now. So I started getting, as life has gotten busier, I've been falling into that trap where when I have time, I'm going to do it. When things slow down, I'm going to do it. He said, you're not going to do it. And it just clicked in my head. So I took out my planner. And this is what I'm going to have you guys do. Because a lot of the stuff that you wrote down, you might associate with fun, right? I've just been doing all the stuff that has to be done, like I have to do. Not leaving any time for the stuff I want to prioritize. Like taking the dogs for more hikes, stuff like that. So I made a whole list of stuff that I'm going to start prioritizing this stuff every day, the stuff I want to do. So my planner, 2 blocks, and they're fun. Like this is going first. Might not do them first of the day, but that's planned, right? I have 2 things I have to get done, and then like 2 self-development things. But then when I wrote the other side, I'm going to have you do this just for a couple minutes because it gave me a lot of clarity. The stuff I had to do, what I was piecing together, all those things had to do with the stuff I want to prioritize. They're like building blocks. And I might not have been that excited about some of them, but that gave it new meaning too. It's okay, this is helping me rebuild the community at the gym, right? Doing the annual marketing calendar, all that stuff that I was feeling resistance towards. I guarantee you, when you write out this stuff you want to start prioritizing in your life, and maybe it doesn't have anything to do with your goals, and even if you start doing one of those things a day, you can't do it all in one day. It's going to increase your energy and enthusiasm for life, right? And then that also helps you stay inspired to keep doing what you want to do as far as the goals. And the goals are probably going to link up to that stuff. So on that, just find a blank piece of paper on there somewhere. I'll give you 4 minutes. I'll tell you when you're halfway, right? And you could start with either the stuff you feel like you have to do or the stuff you want to prioritize. But make 2 distinct lists. Stuff that you have to do, that you might not be that excited about, and stuff you're like, man, I want to get back to that. Jared would tell you, I went back to jiu-jitsu this 2 weeks ago for the first time in 13 months. I kept thinking, man, one day I'll have time. I had time before. How did I have time before? Right? But I wasn't making a priority. So 4 minutes, I'll tell you when you're halfway. Halfway, guys. Halfway. 1 minute. All right, let's finish that thought. And you might want to go back to that. That it should get you excited doing it. I was really excited doing that. Just felt like it got me really back on track with a lot of things. So the 7.5 steps to goal setting and achievement. This is from an old book I read. It's really 7.5, so you can remember it easier, right? It's an odd thing. Identify it, write your goals down clearly. So we talked about that at the beginning, right? Specific. Think about how that'll probably be your vision. Right? After you went through all this, now when you go write your vision, you're gonna have the tools like, okay, this is what I want to achieve this year. Date it, right? Time urgency. Put a time limit. Start and end date. Commit to something. List the obstacles you will have to overcome to achieve your goal. You, one of the compasses I use in life, you are going to face resistance when you're trying to elevate yourself. There's no doubt it will show up all the time. Like it's going to show up. When I stopped teaching in 2012, at that time before we had children, I'm like, all right, I'm going to get to work on the gym business 8 hours a day, in between coaching in the morning at night. And all of a sudden, really quick, I realized, man, I'm having like 2 or 3 hours. Like, what is going on with the time? And I'm pretty disciplined. Resistance was showing up, right? Get caught up in emails or something like that. Start cleaning the dishes. We have a senior home, me and my brother out in Lambertville. We started that in 2018. No idea what we were doing. And it's not like really a model in this part of the country. We learned from a guy in Arizona. And it was a nightmare. Like dealing with the town. We went through, there was deaths of contractors, suicide, stuff like that. Everything was coming at us. Finally opened in 21. In that period of time, 2018, we bought the house. I hired a guy to be the director, and he was with us for like 2 years. We were thinking we are going to open in like 6 months. Now, in that 2 year period, though, the guy wound up being like a con artist. And it was somebody at the gym somehow knew him eventually. We're talking, he's in the same industry, the senior. Somehow came up, how's it going? That's how we got this guy running it. I was starting to get like some. So let him go, right? But in that whole process, there were so many times we wanted to sell it. Even before we opened it, I remember Devin saying to me, okay, you're feeling resistance? I said, yeah. She goes, you got to keep going then, right? And we almost sold it multiple times. And it's only within the past 2 years, just by just one thing after another going wrong, that the right people landed there to run it, right? If all that stuff didn't go wrong, and now it's a joy going there. I used to hate going there. not because of the residents, but it was not division, right? But there's resistance is going to show up. So plan for that and use it. Like get excited about it. Okay, that means I'm on the right path. If there's no resistance, I know I'm not on the right path. I know I'm thinking too small or thinking of something that doesn't really excite me. List the groups and people who will work with you or that you need to contact, right? People are willing to help, especially people that have had success. All we got to do is ask. I used to call so many guys in this industry that were big names when I was starting. I would offer them money. I'll pay you for your time, whatever. And some of them were kind of not nice. Some would help me. Louis Simmons, so that red machine we brought in from the shed, it's called a reverse hyper. It's a great machine, right? It's for the lower back. So Louis Simmons designed that, has the patent for it. Louis, he died a few years ago, about 76. He had dementia. Strongest gym in the world, Westside Barbell out of Columbus, Ohio. Like the most sought after strength coach. The guy was amazing. Second grade education. He did his good Joe Rogan podcast with him. Got kicked out of school in second grade, really rough life. And I remember it was right before we got married, right before we went on the honeymoon. I said, let me try him. I called Westside Barbell, left a message. I'm like, he'll never get back to me. He kept calling me back until he got in touch with me. And it blew my mind because everybody, NFL, everybody in the world was seeking this guy. And we became friends. We talked 7 times before he died. He's in one of my books. When I blew up my second patellar tendon, he actually called me. Right. So my point is, people that have succeeded, they want to help people. You just have to ask them. Right. Just ask them. Right. You reach out to them. What's the worst they're going to say is no. Think of skills and knowledge. Right. Stuff you have to learn. Stuff you have to learn, and that might tie into. Well, I'll go over the daily process in a second. Something to think about with that. Action plan. So we went over that. List the benefits of goal achievement. So great exercise you can do. Let's say it's weight loss. I want to lose 30 pounds. That's where most people's thinking stops. You ask yourself why 6 more times. Why do I want to lose 30 pounds? Well, I'll look better. Why do you want to look better? When you get to 5, 6, 7, one of the early tattoos I got that to remind me. Those are the deeper reasons behind why you want to do what you're setting out to do. And when the resistance shows up, you get fatigued. Have that list, right? The 5, 6, 7. Think out to your deathbed. What is that going to impact that going to have on your life? And it's a good thing too, because if you can't really come up with, it's like, all right, that's not a good one. Kill it. So just and do that, just like we've been doing, rapid fire. Don't overthink it. It's not for anybody else. Just write it down. Why do I want to do that? What's the answer? Why that? Why that? Why that? Great technique. And then take action every day. It only takes 10 or 15 minutes a day to chip away at goal achievement. So some of the goals you might come up with, it might be something you only work on once a week. Let's say it's you want to learn, like I want to learn to play the guitar. I know I'm not going to go to a lesson every day, right? But the daily process, what are you going to do every day that you're going to feel good, put you in the right state of mind? For me, it's something I set out to do every day is I have to write every day so I can clear my thoughts and make content with that. So it might not directly relate to a goal on the surface, but that's part of the process. Your fitness, right? Like think of that as your daily process. And then you check in. Does that make sense, guys? So there's only 4 pages, right? I guarantee you, I've had some great coaches, great mentors. And this is boiled down to this. You'll get more out of it if you do this stuff in here. There's 4 pages in any goal setting book that's 100, 200, 300 pages. This is all you need, right? It's simple. Any questions on that? And I'll take you through about 5 minutes of theater of the mind, teach you how to do that. Everybody good? So theater of the mind, visualization. I'm sure. Has anybody not heard of visualization before? Okay. So that's something. Actually, when I was in high school, I started studying. I kind of went all in. I was a pretty good athlete, but I decided I wanted to lock in on basketball. I wanted to take it as far as I could take it. And I still have the old sheets my parents have. Like I was practicing as much as I could physically practice. Going to camps, 500 jump shots a day. I printed up sheets of paper. I paid a neighborhood kid $2. Say, you rebound for me for an hour. I had to mark every shot off. So, but there was a limit. I couldn't practice. I was hitting the weight, I was doing everything. And I don't know if I'd heard about visualization or just thought came to me. My dad drove me to the library in town. I took out a book, The Psychology of Winning, Dr. Dennis Watley, and he talked about the Italian Olympic ski team. They'd done research on. They hooked them up with electrodes, see how their brain lit up when they went down to slaloms. Then they taught them how to use visualization. And they didn't teach them for that long. It was like a week, a couple hours. So now we're going to hook you up. You're going to sit there and just close your eyes. You get a picture. You're going down the slaloms. The brain lit up the same exact way. I remember that just blew my mind because I was like, what an advantage. And then I started doing it. You get thousands of reps. So your brain does not know the difference between something you imagine, something that actually happens. Think about fear that you have. It feels real. And that's another thing too, guys. Fear, when you think about it, timeline of life, past, present, future, where does fear exist on that timeline? Past, present, or future? Future. So think about this, right? Because again, we know this, but does the future actually exist? Like, actually think about this. It's just part of your imagination. You're projecting, right? You're projecting, but it feels real. And your brain and body respond to that fear or anything as if you are under a physical attack. Doesn't matter that most of the stress is up here. The stress response is the stress response. So really, when I stopped teaching, I really had to kind of learn that stuff. Because man, I'm not going to have my teaching salary anymore. Then finally, I said, wait a minute, the fear, the readings, I'm like, it's not real. Even if I'd fail, I can still go back to teaching. I'm not going to be dead. Right, so just keep that stuff in perspective. So Theater of the Mind, Matt, who's my coach, Matt Fury, he owns the rights to a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. It was written, I think, in the 60s. It's like the book on visualization by a plastic surgeon. He started realizing when he would operate on people that had scars, you know, the stuff that made them not feel good, the shift they would have just by, okay, taking that scar away, doing a nose job, doing something with the ears. He started studying, like, wait a minute, it's inside, right? He came up with the form can teach you theater of the mind. So Matt owns the rights to that now, so I get to learn from him all the time on this stuff. It's awesome. So just set your paper down, whatever. You're gonna sit nice and tall. I'm gonna take you through 5 minutes of this. Okay? So you're gonna close your eyes. Take a couple deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. As you're doing those breaths, just scan your body for any tension, like in your neck, shoulders, low back. Just kind of relax those areas. Nice deep breaths. Okay, keep your eyes closed. Now I want you to picture yourself walking down Main Street, whatever comes to mind. Picture yourself walking down Main Street. Picture what you're wearing. You're wearing something that you feel really good in, comfortable, makes you feel good. As you're walking, you see a movie theater, and on the marquee it says, now playing the story of your life. So you put your name there, story of your life. So that catches your attention. So you walk up to the theater door, really picture this. Open the door, you go into the front counter, you purchase a ticket for the movie of your life. Walk down the hallway, ticket collector tells you, second theater on your right. So you walk up to that theater door, you open the door, and the energy just feels really good. As soon as you open that door, you walk in, look around, you realize you're the only person there. You're now in the theater of your mind. Pick any seat that you want to take in that theater. And picture what you're wearing. Right? We want to get you into that mindset. Picture, picture, picture. Walk over to whatever seat you want. Sit down, get comfortable. And now the screen comes to life. And this first part, I want you to replay a few times in your head some memory of your life, something that has actually happened that you feel great about. Like just reliving it. You can speed it up, slow it down, you can freeze it, you can see yourself 10 feet tall, first person, third person. Start running that scene through. Each time you go through it, try to add a little more detail. You're trying to get to what did you feel like when that thing happened in your life? Keep replaying it. Add more detail to that memory each time. You're going to recall other things you forgot. Let's run that scene through one more time. All right, bring that scene to a close. Screen goes blank. Just really try to, what did that feel like at that moment in your life? How great did that feel? I need you to infuse that feeling. This is about a feeling set, not a mindset, into the next movie. The next movie, screen comes to life. And now I want you to start picturing one of those things that you wrote down that you want to achieve. Picture it like when it finally happens. Who's there? What are you wearing? What's the weather like? You're trying to get to that feeling. Each time you do it, add a little more detail, enrich it. Get to what that feels like to achieve that. Let's run it through one more time. Let's start bringing that scene to a close. Screen goes blank. What you take? Keep your eyes closed. Do 3 big breaths again. After you do that, you can open your eyes. So here's the thing with that, guys. That works. You got if you the more consistent you are with it, you're gonna see. There's some ways you can explain it, some ways you can't. Right? But you're trying to get to that feeling, and that's why the prior memory doesn't have to do. Like a lot of times, it's me hitting my first home run in Little League. It's nothing to do with the current goal, but it's you're trying to get to that feeling. And I remember I told you at the beginning, if you're not feeling good, just what am I picturing right now? And you start putting in a happy memory that you already had for 20 seconds. Nobody will even know you're doing it. But the more you do that, you're going to start seeing it. A lot of people will start that and then they stop. Nothing's happening. Then all of a sudden they'll start getting results. But because they stop, there's a lag effect a lot of times. They don't relate it back to, oh man, I was visualizing for 2 months straight, right? But you stay consistent. Again, think of, can you do it for 2 minutes a day, 3 minutes? It doesn't have to be 20. That was like 5 minutes, right? But it's really, it's about a feeling set. And the more you do it, the easier it is to get into that feeling. Any questions on that? Good question. So you can, the prior memory, whatever comes to mind, right? I have done it with that new one where I'll combine stuff, but I think it's more effective if you just lock in on one thing. But you could change it. But if you change it right, and just think of like I tell the boys, right? Radio, internet. You can't see the waves. You know, it's where you can hear the radio, right? It's a frequency. Your brain is incredibly powerful, right? So if it's constantly switching, you might still get the results, right? But it might just be slower. But it's better than not doing it. Right? But you could try and see what works for you. The main thing is you got to get to that excited feeling of men. That's what it feels like when I achieve it. And certain thing you'll see if you do it, people, all these circumstances will start happening. Maybe it's because you're focused on, but I think it's also there's the attraction piece. It's like a magnet, right? Stuff just starts happening. Some people can do it really quickly, right? Because they get into that feeling much quicker. Any other questions? All right. If you don't mind, we'll do a quick picture over there, and that way we can post it for social media. Thank you guys for coming out.